Please take a moment to pause this video and read in full this important disclaimer. This demonstration is for educational purposes only and should not be interpreted as a recommendation to buy or sell a security. Decisions to buy, sell, hold, or trade in securities, commodities, and other investments involves risk of loss and should be taken in conjunction with a qualified financial professional. So, one of the things that we can do in our portfolios, we can create notes. And we can tell ourselves, we can give ourselves these little notes based on what our stocks are doing. For instance, in Chevron here, I put a note here that I had two targets. My stock was performing. I had two targets, 910, 109.10, and 15.50. And these were pre-COVID levels. In IBM, I think it was around March or so, we did a technical analysis, and IBM was one of the ones that we looked at. And one of the things that we discovered was one of the technical analysis, I think it was Andrew's Pitchfork, was projecting that IBM was going to peak sometime in around May. So I wrote sell in May, go away, but also some values. Now I'm going to start looking at support and resistance values. For instance, under 3M, have a target and then also some swing supports where I believe the market is holding value. And for instance, in Verizon, here I made a note that something was not right about Verizon, and that below $58, I needed to make a decision on this particular stock. And what also is nice about these notes is we can go in and set what are called low and high flags. Now, low and high flags, again, could be values of targets. It could be values of support, could be values of resistance. And that when our stock price gets above the high or below the low, then it will signal to us in our portfolio. It doesn't send you a signal through an email, it just signals it here. So you can see here that our COG is green. That's telling us that this stock, my high flag was 1260, and the stock right now, Chevron, is trading 1652. So it's above my high flag, and therefore the high flag signal, that green. And that's also why we have a green line under the symbol of Chevron. If I look at IBM, notice that the low flag was activated 140.39, and IBM right now is trading 129.44. So a lot of these high and low flags that I created was back in March. Now I did also come back later in the year and adjusted some of them, but we'll look at a couple of them in a second. So this is a nice way also to keep on top of your portfolio. So this buy and hold strategy, right? We kind of want to wait for price to move in. And again, I said to you about March, I started recognizing that some of these stocks were doing really well. And at some point, a buy and hold strategy needs some kind of risk management. Now, what we don't want is to buy and let our stocks become profitable and then hold them until they become a loss. That's not good trading management. So one of the easiest technical analysis that we can use is Trendlines. It's one of the oldest and longest technical analysis. It's very simple to do. Now, here's my chart of Chevron. And let me just tell you the components of what's going on in this chart. First of all, when we look at the next couple charts, all the charts, the vertical blue line represents our entry date. The horizontal blue line represents our entry value. And you can see that about beginning of February, Chevron had a nice uptrend. Now, the other horizontal lines that I've shown here, some of them might be support or resistance levels, and others could be potential targets. In the case of Chevron, these two upper ones were potential targets. This 109.10, an area of supply from pre-COVID, and the 1550. Again, areas where I believe that price could rise to, but might run into a potential new sellers or sellers that have been waiting patiently. Let's go back to a year. So again, trend line. So what did Chevron do? Well, it made that first target, that 109.10, and it got up to, but did not get to the second target. And you can see our nice little trend line here. And then price did what? Price broke our trend line at the same point where we had a previous area of resistance, where price paused and then we broke through. So this is kind of a pivot point. And so if I was managing this in my portfolio, this might be an opportunity for me to exit this trade. Let's look at this trade at this point. By March, Chevron was up 32%. That's a good return on a stock in just, 3 or 4 months. Now, again, we want to let our profits run. That's part of trading, but also we want to cut losses. And could that trend line break be an indication that Chevron is about to go lower? And in trend line analysis, very steep trend lines tend to break or have a failure rate that when they do break, price does move dramatically. But if I like Chevron to be an opportunity to buy again, maybe I will wait for price to either get back above, show me a breakout, or in this case, what we can see later in the year, there was a downtrend, and then we had a breakout above that downtrend that could have let us, given us clues to get back into Chevron. So that's like kind of a simple risk management technique. I hope this video was informative. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure you subscribe to Bar Chart's YouTube channel and give the video a thumbs up. Until next time, the good of all trading.